Hi guys, I wanted to show you how to use the Brightspace quizzes. I wanted to start off with just a clarification. Some teachers or some classes might refer to the quizzes as mastery tests, some might refer to them as quizzes. So if you hear mastery test or quiz, just kind of know that it's the same thing, the same idea. So let's see, here on this lesson in financial literacy, we are at a lesson in week 6 called Paying Taxes. And it says, view the tutorial, take notes of the content. After fully reviewing the tutorial, attempt the Brightspace quiz. The quiz may not be available until you complete the tutorial. So if you go here, we see that there is a tutorial. Like those directions say, there's no quiz, no mastery test, so we're going to need to go ahead and complete the tutorial before we can attempt that. Next direction says then, take the Brightspace quiz. You must score 80% or higher on it to have it considered as mastered. If you do not score 80% on your first attempt, review the tutorial and attempt again. You can attempt the quiz 3 times. If you do not score 80% on your third attempt, please message Mr. Daly right away. He'll likely ask to see your notes over the tutorial. So what we want to do to get started here then would be to just click on the tutorial, and it'll take us to basically the text, what we're going to take notes over. So we can read this, take notes over it. For most of the work here, we don't need to actually answer these questions. So some of these have little worksheet portions on them or little fill-in-the-blank tables. You don't need to fill those out, but I would just go ahead and check those out and kind of read about them. You don't need to formally answer the questions, but like for this one, you'd want to think about your answer. And if you want to write it down, you can definitely go ahead and do that. But after we fully review the tutorial, you can jump back using this breadcrumb trail, that's what they call it, little trail of links back to the class, and go back to the lesson. And you see that, hey, now the Paying Taxes Mastery Test or quiz, that's available to us since we completed the tutorial. We can go ahead and click on it, and it'll take us to the screen where it shows us some information about the quiz. Sometimes it might say that it's estimating your time to take it. That's just what it defaults to. You can take as long as you want necessarily to complete a quiz. You just want to make sure you usually complete it in one sitting so you don't walk away and it times out on you or something like that. So all we need to do is click on the Start Quiz button. It says it might take a few minutes to load. Okay. And we're going to go through and answer these questions here. I'm going to go ahead and just answer them incorrectly for the most part, but A for all of them, so I can show you what that looks like. All you have to do as you answer each question is hit Next Page. There is a Save button. You can hit that, it will save it, but if you just hit Next Page, it saves it automatically also. So over here it's telling you what question you're on. There's only 5 questions on this mastery test. Some tests are going to have 20 questions or 25. This one's a pretty short one. When we get to the last question, there's not a next page to go to, so we can just go ahead and go to Submit Quiz. So I click that, it saves it, and it says you're about to submit your quiz, are you sure? You can go ahead and just say, yeah, we're sure. It asks you a lot of times if you're sure. And then it tells you that, hey, we scored a 0% on this attempt. Oh no! Like it said on the directions, you have up to 3 attempts on each one, so that's not a big deal. What we want to go ahead and do is jump back to the quiz itself. You see we got a notification that came through that says we scored a 0% on that. So you'll get a little notification that pops up just to remind you what you scored. So we can go back and review the tutorial, and then when we're ready to jump back in the mastery test, we can attempt it again. If you're wondering about what your grade is for an assignment, or you forget what you scored, you can just jump over to your grades, and it shows us that we scored 0% on that. So we would definitely want to make sure that we complete it. And if you're having trouble with it, even after it's like your first or second attempt and you're just not getting it, you don't have to take all 3 attempts. You can email me and ask for help. It's not a big deal. But make sure you're spending a good amount of time on the tutorial, because like I said, that's one of the first things I check is how long you spent on the tutorial. So like for example, I had just spent less than a minute. I recorded 45 seconds of time on the tutorial, so if I saw that a student had spent less than a minute on a tutorial and scored a 0% on the associated mastery test, I'd kind of think that there was a relation between those and say, hey, why don't you go spend some more time taking notes, and then I'll look at this again. But that's taking the mastery test, the quizzes in a nutshell.